Most people think their problem is low income. They say, I need make more money, but the truth is much simpler and much more dangerous. Most people don't say poor because they earn too little. They say poor because they spent everything they believe they have. There is a psychological law that works in every family, every company, and every bank account. And if you don't understand this law, you will keep making money and watching it disappear. Today, I'll show you why people always spend all their money and how you can break this pattern and start building real capital. But before we start, if you want to understand how money psychology and capital really work, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Here on the Ravi Gabis Show, we talk about the real principles of wealth building every single day. Now let's begin. I've already told you about the abundance strategy, and it works in a very simple way. You earn money, spend money, something's left, then you invest that money and multiply. And that's how your capital grows. It's very simple. And at the same time, it's very powerful. But very often people tell me, Ravi, I don't know how to make more money. And I usually say something very simple. Okay, don't make more money yet. You start saving. You don't have to increase your income immediately. You just need to spend a little less. And then people say, okay, but I don't know where to invest. And I answer the same way. You don't have to invest in the very beginning. Just set aside money every month. Your capital will already start building up simply because you're saving. Later, step by step, you will learn how to invest. So the strategy is actually very simple. But somehow, it still doesn't work for most people. And we already talked about why. Because of mental blocks. That's why it's very important to watch the previous videos and identify your financial blocks. But today I want to talk about something more practical. Let's talk about spending money. If we look at the abundance strategy again, it works like this. You earn money, spend money, and something's left. And only then do you invest. So here's the interesting question. Why is spending money actually more important than earning money? Because in this world, it's impossible to survive without making money. It doesn't matter what you do. Even if you are unemployed, somehow you still survive. Maybe when you are a child, your parents support you. Maybe when you are a student, you receive some financial help, scholarship. Then eventually you start working. Money comes to you in different ways throughout your life. There may be periods when you don't work and live from savings, but that means you were able to create the savings earlier. So the reality is very simple. Everyone in this world has to make money, and everyone in this world spends money. Now, if you want to increase the gap between income and spending, the gap that creates saving, you have two options. You can increase your income and you can decrease your spending. Increasing income is theoretically unlimited. There are no external limits. The real limits usually in your mind, and we already talked about those mental barriers. But what about spending? Can you decrease your spending to zero? Of course not, because we live in a society where we have to pay for things. You cannot avoid paying rent, you cannot avoid paying for food, you cannot avoid paying for utilities. Even people who live on the streets still need money. Why? Because money was created as a tool of exchange. Before money existed, people exchanged goods. They traded carrots for potatoes, skins for fur, wood for bricks, but money made life much easier. Today, money is a universal exchange tool. You can exchange anything for money and money for almost anything. So, where is the real problem? The problem is that most people spend everything they earn and sometimes even more. But why does this happen? People are not stupid. They understand that saving money is important, yet they still fail to do it. Why? Because There is a very powerful principle. I call it the law of spending. And the law says something very simple. People spend all the money they believe they have. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a family. At the end of the year, the father, who is the manager of the company, he manages the family's budget. He comes home, they sit together at the table and start planning the family budget. Everyone says that what they need. His daughter asks for something, his son asks for something, his wife asks for something. Usually he approves some things and refuses others. But this time he approves everything. Everyone's happy. The meeting is almost finished, but then he opens a drawer in the table and takes out a thick stack of cash. It's a bonus he received at work. He tells the family, "We will keep this money to buy a new car." Everyone looks at the money like crazy, and then the meeting ends, but something interesting happens. A little later, his daughter comes to him crying. She says she needs a new dress for her graduation at music school. All her classmates will have new dresses. And she says she won't go to the ceremony without one. Of course, the father feels pity and gives her money. Then the son appears. He practices karate and says he needs a new kimono. A sensei from Japan is coming and he's preparing to test for his brown belt. His old kimono is torn. Again, the father gives him money, and finally the wife comes. She reminds him about coffee machine he promised to buy years ago, and eventually he buys that too. Now try to guess what happens. In just a few weeks, the entire bonus is gone. Now here's the key question. What would have happened if he had never shown that money to the family? Maybe that money would still exist. Because of the law of spending, any family, any company, any community, and even individual person will spend all the money they believe they have. And remember something important. Even if nobody else knows about the money, you know. So remember the key idea from today. People don't spend all the money they have. They spend all the money they believe they have. And that's exactly why real wealth builders always protect their savings and keep them out of reach. The topic of spending psychology is actually much deeper, and we will talk about it more in the next episode. If you found this useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here we talk about the real mechanisms of building wealth and capital. And if you want to go deeper and understand the full system of how to build capital step by step, there is a free webinar in the description under this video. You can watch it right after this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.